ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। रीडिंग फ्रॉम श्रीमद् भागवतम। बाय हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 27, Vega, on the city of King Puranjan and the character of Kalakanya. So we are progressing ahead. So in the meantime, is there any? We just completed the chapter yesterday. Is there any question, comment, discussion? We can take it, or we'll proceed to the next chapter. Okay, so I think we'll proceed to the next chapter. Nice it is. So this is chapter 27, and here, chapter 28 and couple 29. Narad Muni is going to conclude this, but it's a long past time, right? And in fact, this chapter 27, 28, 29, this itself is going to occupy more than almost like 250 pages. Okay, so it's a long read and very detailed, the preaching and the discussion between Prachina Barhi and Narad Muni. So we come to chapter 27, text 1. नारद उवाच इत्यं पुरञ्जनं सार्ध्यं शमानीय वैशमानीय विभ्रमैः पुरञ्जनी महाराज रेमे रमयति पतिम्. Translation.
The great sage Narada continued, "My dear king, after bewildering her husband in different ways and bringing him under her control, the wife of King Puranjana gave him all satisfaction and enjoyed sensual life with him." Purport. After hunting in the forest, King Puranjana returned home, and after refreshing himself by taking a bath and eating nice food, he searched for his wife. When he saw her lying down on the ground without a bed, as if neglected and devoid of any proper dress, he became very much aggrieved. He then became attracted to her and began to enjoy her company. A living entity is similarly engaged in the material world in sinful activities. These sinful activities may be compared to King Puranjana's hunting in the forest. A sinful life can be counteracted by various processes of religion, such as yajna, vrata, and dana, that is, the performance of sacrifices, the taking of a vow for some religious ritual, and the giving of charity. In this way, one may become free from the reactions of sinful life and at the same time awaken his original Krishna consciousness. By coming home, taking his bath, eating nice foodstuffs, getting refreshed, and searching out his wife, King Puranjana came to his good consciousness in his family life. In other words, a systematic family life as enjoined in the Vedas is better than an irresponsible sinful life. If a husband and wife combine together in Krishna consciousness and live together peacefully, that is very nice. However, if a husband becomes too much attracted by his wife and forgets his duty in life, the implications of materialistic life will again resume. Srila Rupa Goswami has therefore recommended Anasaktasya Vishayan, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.255. Without being attached by sensuality, the husband and wife may live together for the advancement of spiritual life. The husband should engage in devotional service, and the wife should be faithful and religious according to the Vedic injunctions. Such a combination is very good. However, if the husband becomes too much attracted to the wife due to sensuality, the position becomes very dangerous. Women in general are very much sensually inclined. Indeed, it is said that a woman's sensual desire is 9 times stronger than the man's. It is therefore a man's duty to keep a woman under his control by satisfying her, giving her ornaments, nice food and clothes, and engaging her in religious activities. Of course, a woman should have a few children, and in this way not be disturbing to the man. Unfortunately, if the man becomes attracted to the woman simply for sensual enjoyment, then family life becomes abominable. The great politician Chanakya Pandit had said, Bharya Rupavati Shatruhu. A beautiful wife is an enemy. Of course, every woman in the eyes of her husband is very beautiful. Others may see her as not very beautiful, but the husband, being very much attracted to her, sees her always as very beautiful. If the husband sees the wife as very beautiful, it is to be assumed that he is too much attracted to her. This attraction is the attraction of sensuality. The whole world is captivated by the two modes of material nature, Rajoguna and Tamoguna, passion and ignorance. Generally, women are very much passionate and are less intelligent. Therefore, somehow or other, a man should not be under the control of their passion and ignorance. By performing bhakti yoga or devotional service, a man can be raised to the platform of goodness. If a husband situated in the mode of goodness can control his wife, who is in passion and ignorance, the woman is benefited. Forgetting her natural inclination for passion and ignorance, the woman becomes obedient and faithful to her husband, who is situated in goodness. Such a life becomes very welcome. The intelligence of the man and woman may then work very nicely together, and they can make a progressive march towards spiritual realization. Otherwise, the husband, coming under the control of the wife, sacrifices his quality of goodness and becomes subservient to the qualities of passion and ignorance. In this way, the whole situation becomes polluted. The conclusion is that a household life is better than a sinful life devoid of responsibility. But if in the household life the husband becomes subordinate to the wife, involvement in materialistic life again becomes prominent. In this way, a man's material bondage becomes enhanced. Because of this, according to the Vedic system, after a certain age, a man is recommended to abandon his family life for the stages of Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Hare Krishna.
So this is the opening of the chapter. Puranjani Maharaja Reme Ramayati Patim. So here, after bewildering her husband in different ways and bringing him under her control, Puranjani, the wife of King Puranjan, gave him all satisfaction and enjoyed with him. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very detailed describes how the living entity, when the intelligence is not cared for, here the wife is referring to the intelligence of the Puranjan, which is also called as Puranjani. And there is always a chance that he may utilize the intelligence only for the activities of passion and ignorance. And therefore, one has to be situated in the mode of goodness and one has to control these activities of passion and ignorance. Prabhupada writes here, a systematic family life is far better than irresponsible, sinful life. So, that this is very important, that on the grosser understanding, the family has to be taken very well care of by giving all the necessary paraphernalia, and one has to be spiritually engaged. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that Srila Prabhupada quotes the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, anasaktasya vishayan, that generally even our understanding also before reading in the Yukta Vairagya principle, generally even Arjuna also got bewildered like this. He's asking, my dear Krishna, please explain me one thing. Should I be detached or should I fight? And Lord Krishna says, no, you have to be detached from the results, but the activity should continue. Right. So this is the essential principle of Yukta Vairagya. That generally the word detachment means that we want to become detached from everything. And attachment means we want to become attached to everything. But the principle of Nishkam Karma Yoga is being explained here, that one has to become detached from the results of the activity. However, one has to perform activity as if the attached person will perform the activity. Right. And all the while doing all this with Anusmara Yudhyacha, with the remembrance of the Supreme Lord. And then there is a description of how the family members should be provided very well, and they should not be seen as object of sense gratification only. This is a typical symptom of Kali Yuga, Dampatya Abhiruchir Hetu. So the Kali Yuga literally stands for Dampati life, Dampatya Abhiruchir Hetu. That it is only for the sense gratification people think of a Dampati life. But that is Dampati is different than Vivaha Samskar, right? And Grahasthashram. So Grahasthashram, where the Supreme Lord is in the center, and by keeping Lord in the center, by keeping deities in the center, by keeping service to the Lord in the center, one has to control the lower modes of passion and ignorance through the mode of goodness. So this is very essential. So the goodness has to prevail, Prabhupada says, and that goodness will prevail by the activities when we participate in the activities of Yagyadana Tapa. So Yagyadana Tapa Adi Pavanani Manishinaha. It has the potency to purify even the greatly purified personalities, Pavanani Manishinaha. And therefore, one should never tyajayet, one should never give up the activities of Yagyadana and Tapa. So in conclusion, Prabhupada says that the responsible householder life is far better than the irreligious, irresponsible, sinful indulgence. But at the same time, one has to be progressively advancing even in the responsible household life. Text 2. स राजा महिषीं राजन् सुस्नातां रुचिराननन् कृतस्त्वस्तवयं यानां तृप्त्वाम् अभ्यनन्द्यात् उपागताम्. Translation.
Translation: The queen took her bath and dressed herself nicely with all auspicious garments and ornaments. After taking food and become completely satisfied, she returned to the king. Upon seeing her beautifully decorated, attractive face, the king welcomed her with all devotion. Purport: A woman is generally accustomed to dress herself nicely with fine garments and decorative ornaments. She may even sometimes wear flowers in her hair. Women specially dress themselves up in the evening because the husband comes home in the evening after working hard all day. It is the duty of the wife to dress herself up very nicely so that when her husband returns home, he becomes attracted by her dress and cleanliness and thus becomes satisfied. In other words, the wife is the inspiration of all good intelligence. Upon seeing one's wife dressed nicely, one can think very soberly about family business. When a person is too anxious about family affairs, he cannot discharge his family duties nicely. A wife is therefore supposed to be an inspiration and should keep the husband's intelligence in good order so that they can combinedly prosecute the affairs of family life without impediment. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So the queen, she prepared herself very well. And when King Puranjan saw her, when the king returned home, Puranjan was very uh, pleased to be received by her in this way. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes a woman is generally accustomed to dress very nicely with the fine garments, decorative ornaments, and the flowers in the hair, right? And these are the womanly traits, and they should be preserved. Modern times, in the name of artificial equality, man-woman equality, the women are trying to behave like men, saying that, oh, we are equal. And then the different, yes, are you equal? Of course you are equal. You are more than equal, but you are different. You know, once Maharaj was explaining this, Ajay Dvik Swami Maharaj was explaining, is man, woman equal? Maharaj said, of course they are equal, but they are different, right? And, generally, what is considered as a weakness, they are the special prerogative of a woman as a class, right? And therefore, we see here, and Prabhupada writes, the husband is working hard whole day, and when he comes home, the wife should be nicely dressed and receive with a good smile. And nowadays, even woman is also working hard. So basically, husband should also dress nicely and smile at each other. Okay. So point is, keep smiling. Right. Srila Prabhupada writes that here, a wife is inspiration of all good intelligence. And this is very important. We have seen even such a great personality as Maharaj Uttanapad. He was inspired by Suruchi, and Suruchi was not very inclined to Dhruva. And we know the history, right? Rest is the history. And the standard of a family life will depend on the standard of the mother in most of the cases. And therefore, Grihastha, the ashram literally revolves around the mother, right? And that's why we say also in preaching that if you preach a man, he becomes a devotee. He may become a devotee. You preach to a lady in the house, entire family becomes a devotee. And that is true for everything. In Maharashtra, when there was this Saksharta movement going on, they said that you educate a man and he becomes educated. Educate a woman, entire family is educated, right? So this is the special prerogative of a lady in the house, and this is very important. They have this special prerogative and very special responsibility as well. A wife is therefore supposed to be an inspiration of the husband, and the good intelligence. So the intelligence, so the woman as a class should, we should understand that its intelligence of the family is coming through us to great extent. And man as a personality should also realize that, the where the intelligence is coming from, and that intelligence is also, I'm just not getting a proper word there. But the point is that intelligence is also based in the mode of goodness and not the other traits of the personality, which may go to aham mameti kind of idea, right? So it is a delicate balance, especially for a man, it is always a delicate balance, right? MW balance, we call it, right? So, and therefore it is the duty of the lady in the house. And that's what we see. Prabhupada has already described this. Behind every successful man, there is either mother or the wife. And we have seen the example of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and Jita Mata and so many other examples we have seen. And therefore, it is the lady in the house who literally takes, the house in a particular direction. And similarly, coming to the story of Puranjan, it is the intelligence which takes the living entity to a particular direction. Right. Text 3. Tapoyagudha parirambhakandaro rahonumantrairapaskritaschetanaha nakalaramho bubude duratyayam diva nishedi pramada parigraha. Translation.
Queen Puranjani embraced the king, and the king also responded by embracing her shoulders. In this way, in a solitary place, they enjoyed joking words. Thus, King Puranjana became very much captivated by his beautiful wife and deviated from his good sense. He forgot that the passing of days and nights meant that his span of life was being reduced without profit. Purport. The word pramada in this verse is very significant. A beautiful wife is certainly enlivening to her husband, but at the same time is the cause of degradation. The word pramada means enlivening as well as maddening. Generally, a householder does not take the passing of days and nights very seriously. A person in ignorance takes it as the usual course that come and after the days the nights come. This is the law of material nature. But a man in ignorance does not know that when the sun rises early in the morning, it begins to take away the balance of his life. Thus, day after day, the span of one's life is reduced, and forgetting the duty of human life, the foolish man simply remains in the company of his wife and enjoys her in a secluded place. Such a condition is called apakrishta chetana or degraded consciousness. Human consciousness should be used for elevation to Krishna consciousness. But when a person is too much attracted to his wife and family affairs, he does not take Krishna consciousness very seriously. He thus becomes degraded, not knowing that he cannot buy back even a second of his life in return for millions of dollars. The greatest loss in life is passing time without understanding Krishna. Every moment of our lives should be utilized properly, and the proper use of life is to increase devotional service to the Lord. Without devotional service to the Lord, the activities of life become simply a waste of time. Shram eva hi kevalam. Simply by becoming dutiful, we do not make any profit in life, as compared with Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.8. Dharmasva anustitah pumsam vishwaksena kathasu yah notpadayed yadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. If after performing one's occupational duty very perfectly, one does not make progress in Krishna consciousness, it should be understood that he has simply wasted his time in valueless labor.
Yeah. Puranjani embraced the king and they spent a lot of time in a solitary place, enjoyed joking words, and thus captivated by the beautiful wife. He deviated from the good sense, not realizing passing of the days and night of his span of life being reduced without any profit. Right. So in the purport Srila Prabhupada describes the word pramada. Pramada means is very significant. So the beautiful wife is certainly enlivening, Prabhupada writes, and at the same time is the cause of, if not if it is not, uh, if it is not respected properly, then there is always a cause of bondage. And therefore, Chanakya Pandit's previous sloka talks about Rupavati Bharya Shatru. Why? Because one's constant attraction and constant remembrance will be his Bharya only. And therefore, it is called as Rupavati Bharya Shatru. And all this is from the perspective of, woman in general, and, which is on the conditioned platform, and not for the devotee personalities who are already on the platform of, they are not this body and they are coming out of the bodily consciousness. So one day, we have already seen this. One day, one a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, lady disciple, Mataji, she was quite upset with some descriptions here, like this. And she asked Prabhupada, some question around this. And Prabhupada said, yeah, if you think you are a woman, then you are less intelligent. Prabhupada's powerful reply. And then Prabhupada said, actually, in so many purports, I have also glorified women for their straightforward nature and very, willingness to surrender to the Supreme Lord much more easily than the proud man. So the reference when it comes to man or woman, one should not take it personally, thinking that I am a man, I am a woman, and this is so. The point is that one has to understand the context. Here, the most of the context, the woman is used as the intelligence of the bewildered living entity. Man is used as the it's anyway the story is very pratikatmak story where the man is the Puranjan, is the living entity, every living entity. It's in the Prabhuji living entity and Mataji living entity, all are Puranjan. And Prabhuji's intelligence is Puranjani and Mataji's intelligence is also Puranjani. So, we have to take from that perspective. And what is woman for a man is man for the woman. That comes later in Srimad Bhagavatam. Like, it is. So the foolish man simply remains in the company of his wife. Or similarly, why to beat the man all along? The foolish woman may remain with the company of her husband, and thus, one will waste one's valuable human form of life. See why the entire thrust here is because the rarity of the human form of life, and if the regular activities of the animalistic life, ahar, nidra, bhaya, ityadi, if they are done, if they are the only thing done in the human form of life, then it is like you have used Ferrari for plowing the field, right? And therefore, Shastras and Acharyas, they become very concerned and upset, and therefore, this kind of a purport. And remaining in the Grahastha life, yeah, it is wonderful. One should remain in the Grahastha life, but while remaining in the Grahastha life, one has to utilize one's time in devotional service. Just like all of you here utilizing your time in such a wonderful way of studying Srimad Bhagavatam. So one has to utilize one's life in devotional service. Otherwise, simply remaining dutiful and not cultivating Krishna consciousness, it is called as Shrama Evahi Kevalam. It is simply a useless labor. Why? Because, just imagine some student is there and he is just studying and forgets to go for the exam, forget how he performs in the exam, right? Of course, he's studying for knowledge and studying for exam. So similarly, our exam is always waiting. We know what that exam is. Ante Narayana Smriti, that is the exam. And Ante Narayana Smriti will happen only when we have lifetime of Narayana Smriti. And therefore, otherwise it is called as Shrama Evahi Kevalam. So this is how Narada's extremely powerful preaching is going on. 44. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada. Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhupada, thank you,
Krishna.
Guruji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.